Sustained government shutdown of several weeks would do significant economic damage. That's what many top economists are warning this week. Now, in terms of jobs, the American Federation of Governments says they expect 800,000 to 1 million federal employees to be furloughed. Let's take a look at the latest news.
With the government shutdown in place, President Obama spoke to a crowd at a construction company in Maryland on Thursday. Obama blamed the House Republicans for causing the government shutdown. He pointed his fingers at conservative Tea Party members who want to kill his Affordable Health Care Act.
You know, the United States is the center of the world economy, so if we screw up, everybody gets screwed up. The whole world will have problems.
In an effort to rally public opinion against what he calls reckless Republican shutdown, the president slammed his opponents for refusing to reopen the government until they get their way.
The only thing that is keeping the government shut down, the only thing preventing people from going back to work, is that Speaker John Boehner won't even let the bill get a yes or no vote because he doesn't want to anger the extremists in his party.
As Washington entered its fourth day of the shutdown, national parks and monuments remain closed, and hundreds of thousands of federal workers continue to be furloughed. House Majority Leader Eric Cantor says it's the president who has let the situation spiral out of control.
The president's refusal to work in a bipartisan way has led us to this shutdown.
With the government shutdown still holding strong, small businesses and federal employees, which are often cited as the backbone of the economy, start to worry about its potential impact.
Money will run out. People live on a paycheck-to-paycheck basis, and that's going to really have big ramifications.
Well, I mean, I think it's an issue in that there's going to be over 1 million people furloughed immediately, and so that's going to affect aggregate demand. That's going to affect the economy negatively, and we'll probably see that result pretty quickly.
Last time the Republicans brought us to the brink, Moody's downgraded us.
If the shutdown dispute persists, it could become entangled with the even more consequential battle over the debt limit. If Congress does not raise the debt ceiling by October 17th, the U.S. will default on its debt, which many economists say would be dangerous to the world economy.
Former White House aide Dee Dee Benke and Dr. Michael McCoy from Rutgers University continue our discussions. Also joining us is Anthony Lolli, CEO of Rapid Realty. And I understand congratulations is in order. You are just back from California, where you won the 2013 Golden Bridge Entrepreneur and Founder of the Year Award. And I understand that some good company you were keeping, Mark Zuckerberg, also was a winner of that. And LinkedIn CEO Jeff Weiner was also. So that's a pretty good honor there, so congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so we're talking about the economy, and you're into the realty business. Let's start off with you, Anthony, and see where you are gauging the economy right now, and what this government shutdown is possibly going to do.
Well, it's the ripple effects. You know, we're in the trenches here, so let's start off with the SBA. You know, in the industry that I'm in, which is the franchise industry, the SBA is the backbone for franchising growth. So coming off of an award-winning situation in California, there's a lot of people that want to buy franchises from my company, and now they're at a standstill because they're not able to apply for a loan.
That's another thing that applying for those loans is also going to be put on hold for quite a while.
Sure.
Let's also talk about the unemployment numbers. It's now at 7.3%. But I always talk about this gray area, and there's people in a lot of places that they say that they've left the marketplace, so they really don't know what the numbers are. Where do you think that the numbers really are if you were to take a realistic look right now? Dee Dee?
Well, they're not good, and I think they're worse than even than that number, because people have just checked out of the job market, and then they go into unemployment. And you know, unemployment is supposed to be just for, you know, to fill a gap for a few months. People are staying on unemployment for a very long time. They're taking food stamps. They have all these entitlements, and so it's not good right now.
And it's not just checking out, though. There's all these new freelancers, websites, and things like that. They are popping up all over the place. Dr. McCoy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can look at numbers, but I think we can just generally get a sense of almost the feel of the environment, which is a lot of times how the markets work. They work on just what do you get a general sentiment. And I think I feel like it's a better sentiment than it has been for the past few years, but it's certainly not in terms of where we want it to be at the way it was, 10 years ago or so. And I think, I think we're just sort of adjusting to this more almost private, self-employed, underemployed economy, and so we're still trying to work out how to measure that.
Now, Anthony, tell me how you measure it. You said like a few people right now, because of this government shutdown, can't apply for loans. But in general, how do you feel the mood is right now? We've talked about that before.
I think people are going for the guarantee, and right now unemployment is the guaranteed source of income. So people are in a sit and wait. They're calling themselves freelancers, but they're really not generating income because they're working at home but not making any money. And they're just continuing to stay on unemployment.
That's terrible, though. That's just such, it's just not what our country's all about. I mean, I just can't believe that, people can't find 2 or 3 jobs or something to make up for it. People are staying on unemployment way too long. The economy's bad.
I do agree with that. I actually know somebody who was actually quite proud of the fact that they were on unemployment and extended their benefits, and a perfectly workable person. But I think it's more the mood that I want to try. When you all talk to your friends, and there's professionals on all levels, but when you talk to your friends, do you think that there's still a pessimistic feeling?
Well, my big concern, and I particularly since I work at a university, is I see a lot of my students who are about to go onto the market, and you can tell that they're very afraid. And they're talking about going to law school and different types of graduate programs. And what worries me is they already took out a very big loan to go to school. They're talking about taking out big loans to go to get a master's degree, even if that, or a law degree, even if that doesn't pay off. And I think that's what scares me more than anything else, is that fear is leading to all this building of debt that can't be paid, and it's only going to make our problems worse as we go forward.
Interesting. Anthony?
I think the shutdown is a confirmation of fear. I mean, think about how many small businesses are affected by the ripple effect. I know it's not a big deal if the park closes, but what about all the companies that do tourism in the parks? What about all the hotels that rely on people visiting the parks and the museums and such? So though they're already laying people off because they basically bankroll their payroll based on tourism.
Well, Anthony, you weren't here for the last segment, and we were talking about Obamacare, of course, and this is all interlinked with the government shutdown. Do you think that Obamacare is going to be good or bad for the economy?
I think that the struggle, the fight between both parties is not good. I think there's no winning situation. If you're a tough negotiator, then you're not a good negotiator.
No, but I'm going to go back to the basic question. Do you think Obamacare is good or bad for the economy?
I think it would be okay. I don't think it'll do anything. I know that's anti-DD.
I was counting it. You're really taking the neutral.
Yeah, but I'm more of a neutral guy. I really don't. I really don't see it either way. I think time will have to just tell.
Okay, fair enough. Dee Dee?
I think it's very pessimistic. I mean, you hear about these problems and actually I think it was a good, Professor, that you brought up the bubble for the student loans, because, I mean, I've had personal experience with that, and it's a lot of money, and these students are going to be, they're going to have a terrible time, like with the job market as it is, and with the student loans, and then we have Obamacare, which is so confusing, and it's just, I think, a very pessimistic time right now.
I'm going to let you each put on your public relations hats now, okay? John Boehner, he might need a little public relations tweaking, and some might argue that President Obama does. So very quickly, I'm going to give what would you tell John Boehner to do, Dee Dee? What would you tell President Obama to do?
I would, well, I would tell President Obama just to dump Obamacare because it's the worst policy we've ever had. And since his name's on it, fess up and realize that it's bad. That's what I would tell him. I mean, you asked me, that's what I would tell the president. And as far as John Boehner, I would say, I think, he can finish out his term, but he should step aside for Kevin McCarthy. I think we need new, fresh face and younger blood.
Interesting. Anthony?
I would tell Obama, I mean, he stood firm on his principles and what his thoughts were. There is a little backlash, a lot of backlash. I think it's time to reconsider. And I agree with Dee Dee on the second point.
Okay, and
I would actually tell the president for once, good job for standing firm. I think he needed to show the country that there's something he was willing to fight for and stand firm on. And so I'd say continue at it. And then for Speaker Boehner, I have to say that it all looks like this is probably going to be your last term as Speaker. How do you want to end this? I mean, and let him answer that question. How do you want to end this? Because I don't really see a future beyond this term.
Well, if this does continue, and if we are still here on Fresh Outlook talking about the government shutdown next week, which we hope we are not doing that, talking about something else. What about the economy right now? We're on the throes of some sort of a recovery. If this continues next week, I mean, now I think you're going to start seeing people really start to panic. What do you think is, what are your predictions?
Well, I think there are many ways we could be here next week. So if we're here next week and there have been no discussions and everyone's just like, then still in their harsh positions, then I think we could be in trouble. If we're here next week and they're in the midst of negotiating and it looks like, we won't be going all the way up against the debt ceiling, then I think we'll be in a better position. But I think it looks like what are the leaders saying to each other next week, I think will determine where we're at.
And obviously, if the unemployment goes down even more, goes up even more, this could have a big, obviously, effect on the upcoming elections as well. Sure. Anthony?
Well, I think if we're here next week and the situation is still the same, it's going to be drastic. I mean, it's affecting even the Food and Drug Administration. Half of the force is no longer there. It's going to increase the cost of food. There's going to be health concerns. It's just going to go on and on and on.
Talk to me about your started off as a small business owner. Just talk to me. You were saying about some of the ripple effects. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Well, there's restaurants and there's businesses that strategically place themselves next to governmental facilities. No one's showing up to dine in their restaurants. There's a lot of people that have government contracts. No one's there now to pay the bill, and they're left holding the bag. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Hotels, as I mentioned earlier.
And Dee Dee, just in terms of the economy and upcoming, if the jobless rate continues to rise, obviously that would be a win-win for the Republicans to run with rather. But what do you think is going to happen with this long-term recovery of the economy if we see this government shutdown?
Well, I don't think the government shutdown as much as a problem is when we get to the debt ceiling, because that's a much bigger scale. I mean, the furloughed workers, okay, I'm sorry, I don't feel so bad for them because with Obamacare, a lot of these companies are having to give up jobs. So, and those are real jobs. It's not paid by taxpayer money. So, I don't know, I think slimming down the government's a good thing. However, when we get to the debt ceiling, that's a different matter. So I do think we could very well be here next week, but I do think we will move along. It may be slowly, but I think that nobody wants to have a problem with the debt ceiling.
I think that we can only hope that they all agree to disagree again on the Hill, and hopefully we don't see anything like that on October 17th. Thanks, everybody. And remember, folks, the September jobs report, that is due out on Friday. We'll be waiting to see what those numbers show. And stay with us. Our lightning round is next.